Yay! The second session is here. So let's welcome Matt Workman. Woohoo!
Hey, thanks for the warm welcome. So today I'm going to be talking about something I call the hybrid 3D and generative AI workflow. Gen AI, of course, a very controversial topic. I'm going to move this water bottle in case there's copyright issues here. A little bit about me, if you are not familiar with my work. I worked in the film industry for around 10 years as a cinematographer, commercials, a little bit of TV. And I moved into virtual production after that, did some LED work for Epic Games. And during the big LED wall, come up, I did a lot of consulting for studios that were putting those up. And these days I've been working a lot with MetaHumans, Unreal Engine, motion capture. That's like kind of my day job. If I had to say there was one, it's hard to explain to my parents what it is that I'm currently doing. It's always changing, but I've been doing MOCAP professionally for a couple studios and production companies who use MetaHumans in the US. And lately, however, I have been diving pretty deep into the generative AI world, and I think there's some interesting crossover in use cases to use it with the traditional 3D pipeline, and that's what I'll be kind of talking about today. So I'm going to play a little video, a little demo. If you follow me online, you may have seen this already leaked. This is it's been out there, but this will kind of illustrate and explain what we'll be looking at today. Hey, what's up? Today we're going to look at combining traditional 3D motion capture with generative AI. With motion capture, we can capture the actor's performance accurately and even tweak it using animation tools. From there, with generative AI, we're going to be able to quickly change to different outfits, like a spacesuit, a tuxedo, or whatever we want. This is the fun phase. Generative AI is really good at that. And the magic comes where we can generate different camera angles of the performance in Unreal Engine and use that to drive the exact same images using generative AI. This is a fun, interesting new process, and a lot of studios in 2026 are looking at the potential of using generative AI with 3D. We call this the hybrid approach. So take a drink every time I say generative AI in that video and in this presentation. But this is what we're going to be looking at. This is one use case. There's a lot that can be done here, but this is looking at using motion capture to control, and again, control is the big word there, control the animation of the character. And then switch out certain aspects or augment certain aspects using AI. So funny to call it this in 2026. We're going to start with like the traditional, even though Unreal Engine being real time, free, relatively new, MetaHumans relatively new, MOVIN TRACIN relatively new. This is, I think, being framed now right now as kind of the traditional 3D pipeline. This is what people are used to. We're going to be starting with what this is looking like and how I made that last demo. But first, so, what we've learned here is that the movement system cannot trace dogs. It can't do it. It's unfortunate, but we had to make this test. But seriously, this is me setting up to make that demo before. I was doing some performance capture, and this dog doesn't like to be away from me right now for for various reasons. So he's here today, and he's here when I'm doing any of the performances down here. And so if you're not familiar with this system, it's pretty unique. I really like it. I get approached to do demos for all the mocap systems basically, but this one was really unique to me when I first saw it. And the thing that I like about it is the depth perception, because like at the end of the day, this is combining lidar with some sort of AI, image, video to pose estimation. It's combining those tech together. And if you've used other systems out there, when you walk around, sometimes the position of the body not always where you'd want it to be. It's having to do a lot of weird math with technology that it kit doesn't have enough information to get the depth right. So when you're walking around, it's kind of notorious for mocap to be a little floaty and to not really look right. But with the lidar sensor here, this is what I really like about it is that the depth is really accurate. And I have in my studio a little 2 meter by 2 meter Vicon volume, like optical. But I've done tests with the moving system where it's like I think it's like I don't want to get this wrong. It's like somewhere like 5 by 5 meters you can do. I did like 10 steps or something like that. It can track a really big volume. And the depth is, really accurate. So that's really my favorite part about it. It is, of course, markerless, if that's not clear. So not wearing a suit, even though I'm not wearing a mocap suit, I dress like I'm wearing a mocap suit anyway, all black. Um, markerless is great. It's very freeing. And again, if you're coming from suits and optical or inertial, this system can calibrate and work with like kids. I've put my kids in there, though my kids are getting to be about my height now, so it's not, not as big a difference as it used to be. Uh, but you don't need different suits for different sized people. Like there's all these things about this that are, different. It's a different solution. And if you're watching closely, this is relatively new, I still think. I don't know if it's like beta access, but it's using the computer vision camera to solve the wrist and the fingers, and it can do some like pretty interesting poses. But it's flipping here and there, but this is AI, and their models are going to continue to evolve, and I'm looking forward to seeing that. Another aspect before we move on about this, feeling real salesy here, but is it's all happening real time. So this is like extremely good for like your live performances, live VTubing, live interactive. So this doesn't have the benefit of like say your average, it's relatively new, but like average video, pure video to motion capture solver can run the solve forward and backwards, and so can my Vicon system right now, right? So offline, same with HD processing for like XSense or something, they can run this all back and forth, and it can, you know, see in the future like where it's going to go and solve for that. So the cleanup process is helps the mocap quite a bit. This is happening like on chip, on board, real time. So they have a that's a tough challenge to go for. So I'm happy to have the hand articulation now and interested to see where it goes. So that's what we used for the body mocap for this demo. So this is Unreal Engine, and it's as stock as it really can be. I wanted to kind of keep it like simple, so it's a stock MetaHuman 5.7.2, so the hair works. What I consider like kind of the stock launch 5.6 outfit that is available on Fab for free, and a marketplace. Let's show my age. A Fab a Fab environment here, and I did some lighting because you got to light it, right? So this is what we're working with. And so here's me bringing in the MOVIN motion capture on their skeleton, and it's available on their website. It's really easy to get in here, and like really my mocap business has taken off recently because retargeting Unreal Engine, as we're retargeting to the mannequin here, is really easy. When I first started getting into mocap and got my Vicon system, I was like, it's like this retargeting thing is a pain, you know. But here we are retargeting from MOVIN to the mannequin to a MetaHuman. These are all like one click, no, automatic retargets. So that aspect of this has gotten a lot better. And here's that like pretty much raw mocap applied to a MetaHuman with a couple camera changes. And as we know, we could go back and tweak forever, open up all the curves, tweak it, make it better, clean up things. So we have that control here. So I'm comparing this now as I have been working quite a bit in full generative AI world. We come back to Unreal Engine. I'm like, wow, I can tell the camera where to go. Like that's insane. Like I don't have to like beg it and make 50 versions. And we can change little things about the animation. It's like, what if we wanted to like close his hand just like a little bit? Obviously, that's fine. But things that take for granted when we leave 3D and come back to it. So let's talk a little bit about one use of generative AI that I think is really interesting. And if I was to focus on one aspect to like kind of start a company around this, it would be around clothing. I think that there's a lot to be done here. So I'm someone that makes MetaHuman clothing professionally. I sell it on Fab, on the marketplace. I sell little things that help me make my work better in Unreal Engine when I'm making MetaHuman clothing. And I sell that online. And I recently did like an official thing with Marvelous Designer. Love making clothes. I just like clothing. It's fun. And when we're making movies with virtual humans or telling stories, it's like what they're wearing is the most important thing right after having them. So it's a big deal. However, it's very, very difficult to make clothing for metahumans, even if you're like I've been doing it for a while, not like professional AAA level, but reasonably competent level. It takes a lot of time to go from concept to actually having something usable. So when this workflow came up, where we could combine Google Nano Banana Pro, which is really the backbone of really like all modern generative AI workflows at this point, they're all wrappers of Google Nano Banana Pro to some level. I jumped right into it and I've been doing quite a bit with this. I'm not looking at today image to 3D clothing, which I've done quite a bit of. This is pure 2D, which is interesting in its own way. So we're starting with a still. Much of this generative AI stuff starts with one still image that's really important in many ways, but a still image from the video that we're going to be converting and altering with AI. So here's our still video or still from Unreal Engine. And next we're going to be doing prompting, which feels just disgusting to do. Prompting to me feels awful, but I do it all the time and the results are good. In many cases they can be, but I am not a fan of prompting. I don't like it. It feels dirty, but we do what we must to get things done. I don't like prompting. Anything else than this would be preferable to me. But we are prompting nonetheless. LLMs trained on text, and they can do magic with it. You say something like "make a spacesuit," it's like, how could it possibly? And then it makes a spacesuit, right? It seems like science fiction. Still, as I do it every day, I'm just like, how is this at all possible? So, one thing that we want to do here with Google Nano Banana Pro, I'm currently in Higgsfield. This is available in Photoshop. It's available just on like the Google website. It's available everywhere. And I'll show you something at the end too, where I think it should be, and probably will be in the very near future. But we're basically prompting for different outfits, and it does an incredible job. And what we want to be doing is batching them. We want to just do lots and lots of variations. You can then go into like in Paint to be like, I don't like the handkerchief, and you can select just the handkerchief and change it. There's a lot of control there, actually. It is prompty though, very, very prompt life. I can see people just being like, that's not for me. I get that. I 100% get it. So again, Unreal Engine, here's our suit. One aspect of this workflow as you're like trying it will cost you more money is that you want to do this all in 4K. And when 8K is available, you're going to want to do it in 8K. Resolution is like your friend in this space, right? Unreal Engine, 16K, go for it, right? Most of the models can't handle that sort of thing. But right now, just as of like, I feel like this week or something, like 4K for 4K is good. And you want the resolution. So this is a 4K generated Nano Banana suit on a MetaHuman. Come from compositing, you come from 3D. If you had to 3D model this and composite it back onto the MetaHuman, it does an incredible job matching the lighting. It even kind of matches the like kind of CG look to it. I didn't go for like, let's make this hyper real in the prompt, right? I just kind of left it as it is. This is kind of like I see people prompt Unreal Engine 5 to make them look like Unreal Engine 5. Like, what does that mean? Philosophy, I don't know, but anyway, it kind of gave it like still a game look in a way, and that's probably a better suit than I could make, certainly in the amount of time. But that's a pretty good looking suit in my opinion, and this is 4K. Here's a space suit. I think I said something like make a spacesuit that's white with gold trim. That's certainly there, and it almost I like look at the wrinkles on the arms. I'm like, those look like wrinkle brushes that I use in ZBrush. Like there's something interesting going on here because I don't think it's like full photoreal. I think they're trying to give it like a kind of like Love, Death, and Robots kind of look here. But anyway, single prompt, you can generate hundreds of these, do lots of variations, and the quality's pretty good. Unless you're coming, this is ILM, AAA, like super high end. It's like, oh, we could do better. But like for a lot of us, this is it's pretty good, right? That's gonna do pretty well. Oh, we leaving? Where are we going? What'd you hear? You can go. I'm gonna let him down 1 second. Who thought a dog on a live stream was a good idea? Come here. Go get him. Okay, we're back. Yeah, he heard something. This is another spacesuit. This is the one that I was like particularly impressed with. I feel like this looks like it was trained on Starfield. Looks really good. Anyway, so I'm impressed with these from someone who makes metahuman clothing, and I was putting this online. I was like, who thinks this is AI? Who thinks it's 3D? And I think it was tricking people because the quality is pretty good. Don't worry, the dog is back. He's just sitting on the floor now. Anyway, so depending on like your studio's level of quality, it's like that's really good previs, perhaps, for idea, just concepting whatnot. Or if for a lot of people, that might be good enough to ship. You might be going with that. That looks pretty good. So once we have this new outfit, right, how are we going to make it move? Because that's just a still image, right? And so this is a relatively new concept here. Um, it's using a service, a platform, a model called Kling AI 2.6, and it's called motion control, which is pretty interesting because it's not motion capture, right? It's motion control, which in my world, filmmaking, motion control means robots, more AI sounding things, but like it's been around for a long time. I've loved motion control. I've done lots of motion control in my life, like Milos, techno dollies, prevising techno dollies. I mean, this is how I got into 3D. Basically, have a camera control the robot. Well, the robot control the camera move, and it can do it the same ish every time, and you can posit those together. It's just an interesting kind of play on words and reusing words from the film industry in this AI context. Anyway, this is how we do it. So one way to access this is to be directly on Kling AI's website, and you upload the picture that we've altered. This is kind of our source image. And then we're going to also upload in 4K H.264. Unfortunately, this whole thing is very H.264 right now. So VFX people, it's like we're not getting TIFF frames back out of this or anything like that. But you upload the video, you upload the source image, and this is a clip of the Unreal Engine version, and then I'll show what the other ones look like. Like a spacesuit, a tuxedo, or whatever we want. This is the fun phase. Generative AI is really good at that. You got a drink, I said generative AI. Like a spacesuit, a tuxedo, or whatever we want. This is the fun phase. Generative AI is really good at that. That's pretty good. I forget what's next. Okay, so I'll play it back one more time. Like a spacesuit, a tuxedo, or whatever we want. This is the fun phase. Generative AI is really good at that. So where did your eyes go to, right? Kind of depends on like what aspect of 3D or production perhaps you're working in. Mine goes to the face. We look at lip sync. This sort of muddles the lip sync. It's 4K now though, so it's pretty good. This was 4K source to 1080 output, 30 frames per second. There's no 24, unfortunately. I'm sure that'll come. Should be cheaper, right? Charge me less. But it sort of messes with the lips a little bit. And so what I've been seeing, and this is similar for live action, hybrid CG, AI stuff that's been happening, is you could do the same thing with live action footage, of course. And in which case you would want to keep the human's face, most likely. Maybe a little alteration, but you'd want to keep the live action actor. You can then composite the face from this character onto this one. Swap it out, right? So kind of back in Nuke, Comp World, After Effects, Fusion, wherever you want to do it. That is sort of like a solution at this point, and I've seen pretty good results from it. But the overall motion of the suit, like a spacesuit, a tuxedo, or whatever we want. This is the fun phase. Generative AI is really good at that. It's pretty good, and it's sort of the like magical part of it, is that it can do secondary animation. Not that you have any control over it. Like if there's straps, they're gonna do what they're gonna do. They're okay. But it does a good job with movement. And if you've ever rigged an outfit like this, it's sort of, there's a lot of questions. It's like, are the shoulder pads hard rigged? Is there with cloth solving any of this? Like the neck area with this spacesuit here and like the shoulder straps, like there's a lot that could go wrong in the rigging of this. And to end up with a result like this is for free. I don't know if it's for free, whatever, without having to rig it is interesting, at least. So here's another example. And a place where I won't pose in the the jury yet. Actually, let's just watch it. Here's the Unreal Engine wide shot. Here's the Google Nano Banana 4K, which is nice. I think the prompt was something cringy like cyberpunk, technoware, that sort of thing, techwear. So lots of straps, has the kind of like a cyberpunk collar on it. Not bad. Looks like someone had like a buckle brush, heat tool, and ZBrush, and was like, yep, and just did it. And I'm not mad. I think it's kind of cool. I'd wear this. Anyway, here's an emotion. And the magic comes where we can generate different camera angles of the performance in Unreal Engine and use that to drive the exact same. So hard to see probably, but I'll just tell you, in wide shots, this sort of technique does not work for the face. It just is not going to work. It's not enough resolution right now. from the source and from the output. Like this is a very resolution dependent medium workflow. It needs resolution. So if we were ever even to like output 1080 final for that sort of stuff, it's like you'd want to be working, I'm gonna say it 8K, something like that. You want this big in this wide shot so that like the number of pixels around that person's face to take this information and put it back on there needs to be very, very high, like 4 times this resolution to have enough to have the lip sync stay good enough. Or you could composite the other one back onto it, but right now we're at like kind of a resolution deficit with this. But as we've been seeing kind of recently, resolution's not a problem. That's just they just need to allow it. It costs more. It's slower, that sort of thing. But it does a pretty good job. There's so many aspects when it comes to the animation of this as well. Is that it'll interpret it. It'll do certain things that are like if you're mocap, which is really common, your feet are like kind of going through the floor a little bit, right? It's like, oh, well, just don't show the feet, you know. But when you run it through these type of processes, depending on the mode that it's in, it'll reinterpret that and it'll keep the feet off the ground. It'll do things. I've done other tests where like it's like I'm like touching the table and stuff like that, and my mocap hands are kind of going through, kind of not touching it, right? You know, forgivable. You could clean it up, but then you run it through the AI system and it like it latents it or whatever, and it's like and now the hands are perfectly touching the table. Stuff like that, hair collisions and stuff like that. Like there are, of course, the hallucinations and the weird stuff, but a lot of the stuff, it's like, oh, okay, I kind of fixed it a little bit, a little bit. Sometimes good, sometimes bad. So, looking at this workflow, I imagine this is a very 3D central audience. I need to remember that for the talk. But you know, with 3D, you know, we want control. Most of the production companies I work for who do Unreal Engine, who hire me to do mocap, I'm like, are we still doing mocap? Are we? I was like, aren't we going to do AI for this? And they're like, you know, there's a lot of reasons why pure AI doesn't work for them, from like a legal standpoint of like uploading footage to these, you know, to the models and whatnot. But a lot of it comes down to control, like really, really specific control over the animation. This is a mocap workshop, right? It's like we want this control. We want to have someone come in who can do the dance, who can do the performance, have control over that. You know, do casting, clean it up, use animators, do full animation. Like that's really important. If you ever just give like a start and last frame and be like, make the actor dance in AI, it's like you'll get something, but it may not be what you want, and you may never get it, right? And we have deadlines, we have time. We want to do workflows that work, that we know are going to work. Mocap, animation, we really don't have to worry about it too much. Camera framing, again, something as a cinematographer, I want control over in AI world. We don't quite have it. It can come out with something, but it's certainly we can't be like tilt down a little bit. It's not going to happen. It'll regenerate the whole thing. So precise camera framing, combined with animation and whatnot. It's like this is the bread and butter of 3D.
Hello, Matt.
Lighting, etc. Oh yeah, what's up?
Yeah, there's a question about image consistency
Oh,
from
sure.
Hamza.
Okay.
Quote, maintaining image consistency can be a tedious task, right?
That's the question. It's a statement. Okay, but yeah, it's so specifically Nano Banana Pro is actually really good at it. Consistency. I could go through like many case studies of full gen AI and stuff like that of things that happen, but generally Nano Banana, if you give it a reference image of your main character, like a character sheet, it's like front, like full body, front, back, close up of the face, side, that sort of thing, and you put that as a reference, and you're like, put that character in the scene, it'll do a pretty good job. So it could be something similar here, where you would have your custom metahuman in different outfits, and you could feed that in there, and so that's more of like a full generative approach. But in this one here, there are definitely issues with consistency, and it's why I think we're starting to see this is like the high end that are like, oh, we'll just composite it back and nuke. That's not everybody, but at the high end, it's like, okay, well, we're probably going to composite back the metahuman face or the live action face, right? And it's like there's your consistency. There's certainly some very funny generations I've done where it's like, so like the first starting frame, he's looking right at camera, but if he's looking away a little bit and they turn back, it's a different person. Also, if you start on like a shot from behind the character and they're supposed to turn around and look at you, you don't really control what they look like when they turn around. So there's all sorts of gotchas. You do it long enough and you start to be like any workflow, like in 3D with mocap, like depending on the mocap system I'm in, I know you can't pull off certain motions. Okay. Like I know which ones they can do, which ones I can't do. We do the ones they can do. Similar thing here. It's like, okay, we know that shot's going to work out. That's easy. then we know that one's like not going to work because of the limitations of character consistency and whatnot. It's like so don't do that. So we work around it with the medium. So as this is sort of wrapping up, I have been starting to consult with streaming companies and production companies about AI and how it's going to like interact with 3D, like new workflows that are coming. There's some really interesting ones, and I cooked this one up this morning. Is basically combining what you see in your typical like node-based AI software with Unreal Engine. And Unreal Engine's like specifically really well suited for node-based workflows. I've shipped games and apps that are all blueprints with their node system. And this is a little mock-up I did of like the workflow I did today, using other services in Unreal Engine. Basically just doing it all in Unreal Engine. I mean, the tools are there. It would not be too difficult. I could probably I could vibe code this in C++ and, hook it up to Google Nano Banana. It's like these workflows are gonna be streamlined in the future, and we just kinda wanna build them for ways that, work with the existing pipeline, give us the control we want, and then we get the fun AI stuff on top of it. And this is just a visualization for kind of both the AI and the 3D community of like, this is probably what it's gonna look like in UE6. So that wraps it up, for this. And if you're interested in talking more, if you want to like fight about it, let's meet me on X. That's a fun place. But if you want to have a more reasonable discussion, I'm Matt Workman on LinkedIn. And yeah, thanks for coming.
Thank you for the wonderful presentation, Matt. So, is there any audience with questions? I'll read it out for you.
Looking for my dog. I think he's around here.
Okay, some of the responses. Hamza states, "Thank you, Matt. That was super interesting." Colette says, "Thank you." Joe says, "Thanks so much for going into all of this." Now, there's also a question. Question from Chelsea. Do you think it can be geared more towards pitching and previs?
Yeah, definitely. So it's interesting in the gaming space that like Larian Studios came out and said that that's what they were using it for, so to speak. But there was some pushback for that from the concept artists and whatnot. But I think it's incredible for that. And one of the people call generative AI kind of like the roulette machine, and it really is because it's the true black box, and you can put the same input in and get a different output out, right? So very different than what you would want from 3D. It's like the opposite of deterministic, right? It's you're just gonna get random variations. But I think that is its superpower, And again, if you're a concept artist who does environments, it's like, yeah, I don't need the AI to do that. Then great, you define that. But are you also a character artist? Are you also, a car artist? And maybe you are, but like there's some blind spot you likely have in your company as a whole, your pipeline as a whole, you as a solo artist, you as a filmmaker. And, that's where AI, I think, can kind of fill in. And as much as I like to take pride that I can like design outfits and whatnot, I'm still happy to see it like, well, make me like 10 spacesuits and then see what they look like. Okay, make them like a little older, make them, change these couple things, and it's gonna give you iterations. And if you're a full professional character artist, it's like, okay, you look at it, it's like, let's combine these three elements and put it together, and then you go do your actual work on top of it. I think it's great for that. This is specifically to this example of clothing, but it can be definitely done for like the entire like shot making and location iteration. I think it's really good for that. And it kind of instantly gets us past the being afraid of like the blank page, right? I forget what that phrase is really called, but just the initial writer's block or creator's block. It's like just throw something out there, right? Maybe you can do better. um but I think it's great for ideation and concept. And I do it an absolute ton. I'll just put it like I just have like a thought one day. I have lots of thoughts, and I just like throw it into Mid Journey, and I'm like, "That's a cool visual." Make like 10 more. It's like those three are pretty cool together, and then I'm making the move. Some of them can be converted back into 3D, or I'll go model them. It's something like that. But I think it's perfect for that. Yeah. So they're all pretty different. I think, they're talking markerless. So again, MOVIN is like really simple, which I like. It's one camera, right? That's a big difference there. One single camera for depth, accuracy, and it's like live, right? So I think there's some presentations later on today about the live use case of it. And so if you value it being like in real time and it being a single camera, it's a great solution. I think that speaks to a lot of smaller companies that may not have the space. Having worked with Capture quite a bit, Capture is probably like the highest, one of the highest fidelity markerless systems. It does require, similar to my Vicon system, like 8+ cameras to get to that level. It's also at a different price tier. It runs on Linux. Maybe there's a Windows version. Ours was running on Linux, which I was like, ooh, like that's spicy for me. And it's geared probably a little bit more towards like the traditional motion capture system studios that it's like I think Capture and OptiTrack are kind of like working together, right? I haven't used that integration together. Whereas I think this one's like a lot. MOVIN is like kind of like again just a simpler system. It's one camera, so it's mobile. It's easy to travel with. You just plug. It's like only plugging in one camera. So I really think it's like the tool I'd want to bring around to do like MOCAP demos and teaching in education areas, and then anything for like live events. Like it's pretty robust. Like it doesn't need light. Like I won't say specifically Capture, but any pure video based solver, even Vicons or whatever, require lighting. You have to be able to see it. They're shooting at 60 frames per second, which 120 frames. You need a decent amount of light, flickering. There's all these things that happen. I did a live presentation for Epic Games at their keynote where there's a lot that could go wrong with live capturing, or any live video based mocap with lighting and whatnot. But the bulk of the MOVIN solve is LiDAR based, so you could do it in the dark. I've never done it, but like in theory, like that's unique as well. So it's kind of this like really like robust small system, and I like that. But if we're like comparing like pure quality, the 8 cameras, does a pretty good solve. But I think MOVIN does like a really good job given its form factor and just simplicity. Cool. Thanks for having me.